Hello musicians, if you've ever had some confusion understanding relative and parallel major and minor keys, you're in the right place to learn along with me. Stay tuned as you'll hear me play Bach's Minuet in D minor, which beautifully uses relative minor, moving to the relative major and then back to the minor. I'll also play Chopin's beautiful Raindrop Prelude in D flat major. More of that later. That will demonstrate the impact of going from a parallel major key to its parallel minor. You'll show those color differences within that. Stay tuned as I'll also teach you some hints and tips that I've had to use over the years to keep track of the differences between these relative and parallel keys. I'll also quiz you on finding these keys within different tonics. First, let's take a look at relative major and minor keys. These are keys that share the same sets of notes, but they have a different starting key note. Let's explore this with F major as Bach uses it in just a moment. When it's played in that major scale, it has a very cheerful, happy sound. However, when I start a minor third lower on D minor, listen to the sound. Much more somber. Same sets of notes, different ordering. Those are relative major and minor keys. Let me play that Bach Minuet, so that way you can hear the way it starts in D minor. See if you can pick out what key it moves to in the middle, and then it goes kind of back and forth. Listen to the impact of those different colors and emotions that Bach uses by using our relative minor and major keys. I love the history behind this minuet. I'd like you to know it before I play it for you. This comes from the notebook for Anna Magdalena Bach, which was his second wife. She was an amateur musician herself, and these were pieces that were played by her and also the other Bach children within the family. This was given to her on her 24th birthday as a collection of music. I would love a birthday present like that. They're beginning level pieces for the pianist, so they're great pieces for you to learn as well. Enjoy. I want you to understand what you're going to see and hear on the score first. So if we look at the key signature of the Minuet in D minor, I see one flat. We know that from our previous tutorials that one flat should typically be F major. But if we look at the score, the left hand starts on a D, the right hand very much sounds minor. Looking at the last measure, that's definitely D minor. So what's the relationship from F major to D minor? Well, we have one set of major key signatures. The minors share those key signatures, they're relative keys. If I play a tonic of F major, if I go down 3 half steps, when you take a step on E, that is step 1, step 2, E flat, step 3, D. That is the relative minor to F major. So hopefully you heard that started in D minor is very somber and kind of mysterious. And then there into measure 8 into 9, it momentarily goes to F major. And then with that repeat, it beautifully goes back to that more somber, mysterious. So it kind of teases at F major for that first half. And the second ending, we stay in F major, which is more cheerful and bright. And then use of that A major would be the dominant of D minor, transitions back to D minor. And then on the repeat of that section, back to F major. So there's so much back and forth interplay of those key relationships. How do you keep track of this? Something I developed over the years is thinking about relative keys like your relative. You might have a relative that has your same last name on your paternal side. So what you have in common is your last name. What these keys have in common is their key signature. That's what relates them. F major and D minor are relatives because of their key signature. Let's say you have a minor key. You want to know what key signature do I write for this? Let's say you're composing in C minor, nice dark key. You don't know what key signature to write. If you have the minor, go up 3 half steps to find the major. So C sharp is step 1, D is step 2, E flat is step 3. You would write that key signature of 3 flats. How do you keep track of which way to go? Think about what you do with major to minor triads. If you're playing C major, to make it minor, you have to lower it a half step so the minor is lower than the major. I keep track of that for my relative keys. C minor, I need to go up to find the major. If I know my major of C, I go down to find that minor. Relate it to the way you move those triads. Major goes down to minor. Every major has one relative that shares that key signature. This works with any type of piece. Let's say you're playing a piece in C major, 0 sharps are flat. You want to explore some other keys to use that are closely related. Go down 3 half steps from C. A minor is closely related to C major. Those are relative major and minor keys. Let's try it out on E flat. Let's say you have a key signature of 3 flats. Go down 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3. That is C minor. Those are all relative major and minor keys. So relative keys are sharing their key signature. Try out these keys to compose, to improvise, so you can change up the color within your own style of playing. Next, musicians, we're going to move into parallel major and minor keys. Different from relative keys, there are parallel major and minor keys. They both start on the exact same tonic or key note. You'll hear this used in Chopin's Raindrop Prelude, where he starts in D flat major. Let me play a D flat major scale so you can hear that warm key of 5 flats for D flat major. But as you'll listen in a moment, you'll hear in the middle section, the mood really changes into C sharp minor, only has 4 sharps. Notice D flat and C sharp are the exact same tonic or key note. They just have a different enharmonic spelling. After the demonstration, I'll explain perhaps why Chopin chooses to use C sharp minor instead of D flat minor. Some fun facts on this Chopin prelude before I play it for you to give it context. It said that he was writing this piece while waiting for his family. He was looking outside the window, waiting for them in hopefulness. And the left hand has this constant 8th note, like a dripping effect as the raindrops are hitting the window pane as he's waiting for his family. It was said also that Chopin did not like the Raindrop Prelude title, the Raindrop specifically, as he was quite distressed and distraught while he was writing this. So as my friend suggested, maybe the Teardrop Prelude is more appropriate than the Raindrop Prelude. Enjoy. And I'll have to stop there. It's a public domain piece that you can also check out as well. All right, pianists, let's look at the key signature of major 20. I see 5 flats. This is the beginning key and the ending key. So if we look at our second to last flat, we see that that is D flat major with those 5 flats. Let's play that scale again with 5 flats. We also have to look at the musical cues, the beginning and ending majors. Outline D flat major triad. So we're definitely in D flat major for the beginning and ending sections of the Raindrop Prelude. However, into major 28, you probably sensed and saw something on the score that looked very different than the beginning. I look at 4 sharps. So if that would be a major key, I look at D sharp up a half step is E major. But if I look at the left hand, I have C sharp, G sharp. This is actually using the relative minor to E. So let's go through that. E down 3 half steps is C sharp minor. Let me explain perhaps why Chopin is using the beginning key of D flat major and then going to C sharp minor in the middle. If we play this even on your keyboard, D flat major, starting key note or tonic, and C sharp minor, they are the exact same note. He's just writing it inharmonically. I think he's being kind to the pianist to have to just think it a little less flats. So D flat major, 5 flats. However, D flat minor, follow along with me, its relative major is F flat. That is 8 flats. Let me play D flat minor, natural form. D flat, E flat, F flat, G flat, A flat, B double flat, C flat. No one wants to think in 8 flat, so I think he's just using the inharmonic spelling of 4 sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp. Those are parallel keys. It's like they have the same first name. I start in D flat major, and it goes to C sharp, which is the same tonic note. Sometimes they'll share the same tonic name, D flat major to D flat minor, but sometimes our keyboardists will be kind and they'll write it in the easiest to read key relationship for that key signature. Chopin is using a very simple key switch from the D flat major to C sharp minor to make a big impact of the mood. So let's try this out. This is pretty easy in some other keys. Let's say you start a piece in C major. Nice and bright. You want a color change, you could go to the parallel minor. Same tonic. It is clearly shown that a major scale can be transformed to its parallel minor by lowering the 3rd, 6th, and 7th scale degrees, like in C minor, 3rd, 6th, 7th. And likewise, that minor scale can be transformed to its parallel major, same key note, same tonic, by raising up the 3rd and 6th and 7th scale degrees. Simple key changes, but it gives a big feeling impact and a big mood impact as well. You can stay tuned for another video. I'll teach you how to play all those 3 forms of minor, of that natural form I just played, melodic minor, or even harmonic minor, and all those fingerings to play that correctly. So in summary, we talked about a lot of theory today. We talked about relative major and minor keys. Remember, they're relatives, it's like they have the same last name. What's the same is their key signature is the same. D minor to F major from that Bach Minuet. Parallel keys have the same tonic. It's like they have the same first name, D flat to D flat minor or C sharp minor. It can be spelled differently for ease of reading. So try out these key relationships just to add lots of different colors and changes to your composing. Pay attention to these key changes because it suggests mood changes. Raindrop Prelude would start nice and warm and hopeful, becomes much more distraught as you go into that C sharp minor middle section. Enjoy learning this theory and having it help you out in your own learning.